Well, let's see. We didn't have a meeting last week, and in the last couple weeks, the most I've done, I'm trying to sort out all my boxes of stuff. I saw Bob posted something saying he's selling his farm. He has to get rid of 30 years worth of stuff. I'm thinking 30 years. I got 50 years worth of stuff to get rid of. So that's why I'm digging through and trying to throw everything out. So that seems to be a slow process, and I just can't figure out what categories to sort it into. So it's easier to sit and watch TV than do that. So that's kind of how my life's been going. I think it's the only updates I have for the moment.
Yeah, I'm like, wonder where Bob put his stuff from his first, 30 years.
My only thought was it could be they moved to the farm 30 years ago and he didn't realize, he'd been collecting that stuff his entire life. So,
Hmm.
I got stuff that goes way back. I've got stuff probably from when I was 7 years old that I will run across. I haven't seen it lately, but I'm sure that will eventually turn up.
It's funny. Okay, let's see. Where should I start? Um, I spent some time on building a second robot. Let me get sharing turned on here. Might have put a picture or two in Slack. It doesn't look like I have a picture here. Um, so in Slack, I posted a photo about mounting my electronics on a different configuration. Um, Probably find that picture and bear with me a second. I'll find it in Google here. Oh, for goodness sakes. Okay, photos. Well, huh. Well, I'll just show this picture. It's close enough. So this is the second tractor broken down. It happens to be in Texas, where it was warm enough to be doing this stuff outside. Basically, what I've done is I've taken strips of flat bar metal and run up this way in two locations, put a piece of 15-inch by 19-inch half-inch plywood over that, do that on both sides, and so I can mount my electronics on the side, um, build a little box out, cover it with plexiglass. That's my intent. So I got the straps all cut, drilled, wood mounted. Now I need to start figuring out where I want to place the electronics. I also mounted the motor on this, which took a little bit of working through the U joint and getting it drilled out, um, getting the proper bolts put in place. So that's a little bit of progress. The other unfortunate news is I had a GPS that I used in Texas. And if I have to guess, it was the base station and it was outside. And my suspicion is there was some sort of lightning storm and some sort of electromagnetic thing got to my board and fried it. And I thought maybe pushing firmware to it would fix it. Although the OEM guy said, here's the firmware, but it's not going to work because it's dead. So I'm in the hunt for a new GPS for my Texas base station. I've got another base station that I was working on. Just getting to the picture here. Oh, there's a picture of them. Am I still sharing? No, I think I must have turned sharing off.
No, you're not. Now you are.
Yeah, so here's a picture of the board mounted, and sort of see if I can make that smaller. The gas tank, I'm hoping to be able to mount the gas tank right up here on the edge of this board and make some straps for that as well. So that's what that's looking like. Now the Pittsburgh base station, this is what it looks like at the moment. I've taken a piece of, I think that's a 1/2-inch conduit, mounted a board to the conduit, mounted a waterproof box to the board, put the GPS in there. The only output is the antenna, and it's going to feed 12 volts in it to start with. I also did something I think was useful for me anyway. I printed off the configurations that this GPS is set at, partly because there's a fixed position in that, where I set the latitude and longitude, hoping to reduce some variability. This end will just stick in the pipe that's buried in the ground, and the top, which you can't see, which is where the GPS antenna will go, and then the wire will come down, and the antenna wire will come in there. So that's a little bit of other stuff that I've been working on, but the base station in Texas, as I was alluding to, needs a new GPS. So I was looking at.
Before you move on there, you said you're gonna take that conduit and push it in the pipe that's already in the ground. Find some kind of a cap to put over that pipe in the ground. Otherwise, you're gonna show up to put this in, it's gonna be full of dirt and stuff. So if you put a cap over it, then it'll be clean, and then put the conduit in when you're done. Put the cap back on when you leave.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I got my 3D printer hooked back up. Maybe I'll print something, or could just make something out of cardboard, I guess, or a tin can would be just fine too.
Yep.
Um,
Then if we come back to this, I was looking at the first thing I thought was, oh, you're mounting that to the side of your house. Then I finally realized, no, you're mounting it to a pole. It's just leaned up against your garage door to take a picture. And
sorry about that.
I was thinking what you could do is you could make this so it automatically configures. So if you connect an extra microcontroller inside the box that just listens to messages coming out of your GPS, it'll say, oh, I'm at 40 comma something latitude and minus 30 something longitude, and says that means I'm in my backyard, or I'm at my alternate location, or I'm in Texas. And then it would then turn around and take that high precision fixed number and write it back into the board. So when you turn it on, it would just say, oh, I know what location I'm in, and I'll take the surveyed location, which is written into the code of the microcontroller, and then put that back out into your receiver. That way you just turn it on, it just knows where it's at. It looks to see where it's at, and then takes your high precision numbers and writes those into the board. And if that doesn't work for whatever reason, since they're already programmed in, it will always work at your alternate location. But if you want to run at your backyard, you have to drag out your laptop and do a survey and put the numbers back in. So it's just more screwing around. It might just be handier to have it, so when you turn it on, it says, oh, I know where I'm at, load these numbers in, and away you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's a really good idea. I mean, um, it's hard to see here, but there's three COM ports, one, two, and there's one buried underneath this. What is my 3DR radio? I mean, this port is putting out RTCM messages. I could put out, as you said, the GPS, the actual location, and then use COM3 as the program port. Maybe use an Arduino or not, I'm sorry, a Raspberry Pi or something down here. I found out there's a Pi library for reading RTCM messages. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, I've got some ports there could do that with. That'd be an excellent upgrade because um I don't know if that's coming through, but there's the fixed position, and you're right. Every time I go to a different location, I'm going to have to reprogram that position.
And back to where you put it for microcontroller. Oh, the sound screwed up again today. You don't need a Raspberry Pi. All you really need is just a small microcontroller that can read the serial port, determine where you're at, and write the values back out to it. So you don't need anything elaborate. But whatever you put in there, if you put some LEDs on the side of your box and have your microcontroller drive those, then you can put all kinds of status information there. You could even put one of your LED strips on the side, so you just have a one wire interface to it, and then you could just those are just available to do whatever you want. So you can have one that says yes, I have read my current location and updated the board to the high precision number. Another one says there's two different fixed numbers that come out in your Neiman sentences. One just simply says, do I have no fix or a 2D fix or a 3D fix? And then there's another number somewhere that says, is a single point fix or a DGPS or an RTK or whatever. So there's two different things. You could display those on your LEDs too, just to plus that'll give you a power indication and show you that your microcontroller is running. Just at a glance, you can see that. So that would be something handy to add to it. If you put a microcontroller in the box, it'd be handy to put some LEDs on so you can get more status of what's going on.
Cool. All good ideas. So anyway, that's what's going on with the base station. And then I was looking at this outfit called NavSpark. They have a number of different low-cost GPS units. So I was looking at those, and their GNSS, modules probably for the automotive market, but there's 3 or 4 of those. A couple of them have heading on them. Let's see if I remember which one is which. Let's see, 105, 170. I think this is the one that it has 2 inputs, so it'll provide heading. And there was one more that had. There was one that lets you put in wheel tick data, and it would do dead reckoning while you're. Oh yeah, this has heading too. This one's a little less expensive, and it has heading. The other one is a little more expensive, and it's the one that has wheel tick input. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all that, but that's the other.
While you're right there on that, while you're right there, we're getting a lot of echo. You might want to invest in some headphones sometimes so we don't have this problem. But anyway, if you look at the top, this one said L1 and L2. And I think the other one you're looking at says L1 and L5, the newer one. So the L1 and L2 will work with your current antennas that you have. And I'm not sure if you have to have a different antenna to get the other. Well, this one says, well, it says at the top there, it says L1, L2, and E5B. And the E5B is really works with that's just what the Europeans call theirs, but I think it's still the L1, L2. So the very top under the second line there, it says
Mhm.
L1, L2, E5B. But that's basically what my stuff does too. And you just buy an antenna that says L1 and L2 and it works. Now the other board you're looking at, which I think is the newer board, I think it says L1 and L5. So again, you'd have to look. I thought you had back, but you showed several. Back up to the
Yeah.
other one you showed, whatever the first one was, I think. And if you look at the base part numbers there, one's 1122 and the other one's like 1172 or something on the base part number. So that might be I don't remember what are the newest one. I think it says L1 and L5. No, that one says L1 and L2. I don't know. I see you can buy it. You can buy it just a breakout board like that, or you can get that other board you showed that had a full microcontroller and the whole thing was there. So
Mhm.
it'd probably be easier to just get the one with the full microcontroller. So it works just like the board you got now. It's just, somebody else's brand. You just put power on it and it's got COM ports, you talk to it. So that's just something else to think about as you go. But I was thinking one of them that SkyTrack is putting out it's actually L1 and L5 now instead of L1 and L2. But I don't know. And I don't know what that means as far as, how well it works. So I'm not sure what the answer on any of that stuff is. Probably whatever you get, you'll find out that's not the one you should have got. So that's the way it usually works out on these things.
Yeah, there's some ag open GPS guys who seem to have started to use these, but there's not a plethora of people out there publishing what they've done.
Do you have
Uh,
access? Do you have access to their like list server now? I know they moved it at one point. And I didn't keep up on where they moved it to. You say people are
I,
using it now. I assume you're seeing current messages for that.
yeah, I think I found, um, what did I find? It may have been their older one. I mean, I don't know is the answer to your question. I don't remember exactly where I saw the Ag Open GPS guys talking about it. It was just, yeah, I'm not sure where I saw that. It's been a while. And let's see, the last thing is not robotics.
Oh, another point on those GPS modules. It could be if you look around, you could find a United States source for these too, instead of going to Taiwan or wherever these people are. This is somewhere halfway across the world that has these. So it could be you can find them in the United States. Maybe even either DigiKey or Mouser might sell you these same things, and they might cost you more doing it that way. But then you wouldn't have to do the international shipping and worry about all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I think because I did notice like $65 FedEx charge. So if the board looks cheap, but shipping is $65.
Yeah, the last thing I got from as long as I talk long enough, the echo finally goes away. So anyway, the last time I ordered from Arju Simple, I think it was like $20 shipping. They charged me. It was FedEx shipping, or not FedEx. It was DHL shipping from Spain, and that it was more than I wanted to pay. But that's who was selling at the time. I think you can buy those also through DigiKey, but then they raised the price probably by at least that much to cover whatever the shipping is. So again, if you just look around, you might be able to find different sources for these things.
The other thing I've spent time on, it's not robotics related, but it's got some electronics involved in it, is the other, I just refer to it as the alternate place where I go and run my tractor. Um, his neighbor came over and said, "Oh, that's pretty interesting. Can you make a weight scale for my beehive?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I've never done that before." But come to find out, you can buy these little load sensors really cheaply. They have something called an HX 711 24-bit analog to digital converter and feed that into your Arduino and um, sort of make that work. I had some drift in the signal, and so I was looking at different people who have tried to do this and trying to look at some capacitors to put in the circuit somewhere. Although this is not the exact pin out of the HX711, although it says it is, probably the board I bought just exposes a few of the pins. But anyway, found a guy who put some capacitors on there to try to smooth out the signal. So that's, I don't know if I've got a picture of that or not. Let me just see real quick. Yeah, I do here. So this is just a couple of pieces of plexiglass sitting on a glass table, so it's a smooth. I found that if the smoother, the harder the surface, these load sensors get better readings. So anyway, load sensors measuring a 10-pound weight. There's the HX11 feeding into the Uno. Here's a question for you. I was trying to use a Nano, actually is a Chinese clone of a Nano, and the software wouldn't work. And I'm thinking it has something to do with the 5-volt output on the Nano isn't as stable as the output on this. But anyway, that was a little oh shoot moment. But
What's the interface between the Arduino and the sensor board? Is it I2C or SPI or UART or something else?
I don't know. I could show you the code there. It's
Well, go back to that diagram you just had.
the class. Um, where's the board?
So on the left there.
Yeah, this one they just put it into pin 2 and 3. And there's an SCK and then a data. So there's a clock and a data point or output to this board.
So it's
I don't know.
likely between your Uno and your Nano that the pins are different, they're just what they've assigned the pins on the board. So it could be that it would work if you just figure out the right pins in the code, say, pick the right pin and then hook up the wires to the right spot might get you around that. Because otherwise the 5 volts coming in, if you're taking 5 volts coming in from a USB and driving the board, I think whichever board you have, I think they just feed that 5 volts directly through. So I don't think that's the problem. I think it's something about the actual layout of the board itself is what the problem is going to be there.
Yeah, I'll go back and check the pins. So
And those load cells, what are those rated at for weight?
50 kg, so 100 pounds ish.
Because you could also buy ones that are physically bigger load cells that they're not just little pads like that. They're like a long piece of aluminum that is designed for more rugged environments. So if these little ones don't work, there are other ones you can buy that, and you can buy those as a kit also. If you could just put one, that these are made for like bathroom scales, and that's why you've got them in all four corners there. And you could just use a single load cell if you had a way, if if you had a way to measure, you know, if you could basically put it in the center of where everything is, that you could probably get what by with one. But if this works, then go with it. That should work out.
Yeah, I think his beehive is in the neighborhood of 80 pounds. So, um,
And what's he going to do with this information once he has it? Is it you going to put a display on it, or is it going to transmit it somewhere else? Because if you're going to transmit it somewhere else anyway, you use an ESP32, so you can connect it to it with a laptop or a cell phone or whatever, and get the data out that way. So that way, it gives you the some kind of wireless interface for free, basically, by doing that.
yeah, I think the primary use is for him to monitor the weight to the point where he needs to go harvest the honey. I mean, there's other things that people do with weight information, but that's principally what he wants, is just to know when to harvest the honey. Or if all his bees leave, which I guess is something they might do, and he knows, hey, his bees all left, and he's got to do something. It's just an interesting side project. But you're right, I'd probably switch to an ESP32 once I make sure that it's at least working with one controller and not having a bunch of drift. So that's what I got today. Oh, I will. Let me show you something that's off topic and even more off topic. Um, so we bought this big drafting table at a auction, and I'm talking about when my wife was in university in Indianapolis. And this big drafting table had this drawer in it, and I didn't know it, but she never got into that drawer. And she said, "Can you open this?" And so I drilled it out, and lo and behold, what was in there was something called a compensating polar, I don't know how to say that, planimeter. You ever heard of such a device?
Never heard of it.
This is what it looks like. Um, and they actually have one in the Smithsonian Institute. It's worth about $60 on eBay. Um, but basically, you know how we measure the area of an whatever, a 2D plane that's, and you want to know the area of that plane. This doodad will go around those edges. Basically, you trace it, and there's a meter that runs, and then it'll tell you what the area of that 2D plane is. That's very fascinating the way that they mechanically did that. But that had been sitting in that architect's drafting table for 20 years. I thought that was neat. Wasn't gold. I'd have rather had gold, but some some 50-year-old architecture, probably a survey tool. Is a pretty interesting find. See, now I'm adding stuff to that which I will have to get rid of someday.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else for the meeting?
No, I'm good.